In this video, we are going to be talking about the Potensic Atom 2. So this is the drone right here. It is a 249 gram drone. So it's basically like a DJI Mini kind of drone wherein you don't have to register it. You don't have to have a license to fly it. And with this Atom 2, it comes with a remote, which is this one over here. It is called the Potensic PTD1 remote controller for the Atom 2. So this is the bag that comes with a Potensic drone. I really like it. It's a new design because I'm used to the DJI bags that open with a zip, but yeah, it opens up like this with just one action. You can unzip both zippers. So inside we get the drone itself, pretty similar to DJI drones. So you just fold it out like this and you get a drone that only weighs 249 grams. So here is the remote control. This is the Potensic PTD1. It is a design that reminds me a lot of a Nintendo Switch. So the joysticks are hidden at the back like this. So you just screw on the joysticks like this. I like the grip on this. It's a very solid feel. I don't think it's going to slip off of my hand, and I have sweaty hands, so I think this is not going to really bother me too much. And this right here is the charging hub. I actually have one complaint about this thing, is that it has a DC in instead of a Type-C input, which makes it a little bit trickier to charge this while you're traveling, because having a Type-C in is just more convenient because you already charge your phones with that. But then again, it is what it is. It is just a minor inconvenience, but yeah, as long as the drone flies well, this is nothing to be worried about. And there is a button over here, and if you press it, you can check the current charge of each battery. So setting up this drone is pretty straightforward. You just pop in a battery just like this. Make sure you have a micro SD card. It's a SanDisk 128 gigabyte V30 card, and you can just put it in the SD card here. And to power on the remote, there is a power button that you just press like this. It's gonna boot up the drone like that, and you're gonna see the Potensic logo. And while you're at it, just remove the gimbal cover, and then hold the power button on the drone like this. And you're gonna hear a little sound there. So before talking about the specs and what this drone is capable of, let's just send it into the air and let's see what the video quality looks like on the Atom 2 by Potensic. First thing that I really like about this drone setup is the controller itself. So the controller is the PTD1. The view or the viewing angle is very crisp. The colors are pretty rich. One thing I noticed though is that there is no histogram. So that's a bit of a tricky one, because I want to be able to know what's properly exposed in my image, whether if it's overexposed or underexposed. I'm not sure if I haven't explored it completely yet. That's why I can't find the histogram, but based on my current dilemma right now, I can't find the histogram. The next thing I noticed is that the propellers on this are pretty quiet. It's like my DJI Mini 3, because most drones or some drones out there can be pretty loud. So if you're flying it in an environment wherein you want to be incognito or very quiet, this drone is a pretty discreet drone. So if you're scared of people looking at you, you're gonna love the quietness of this drone. The next thing that I love is the stiffness of the joystick. So the joysticks on this controller right here has a pretty good bounce, and it returns to center pretty well, and it manages to keep the sticks at a current position. So if you're trying to do a complex move on the drone, complex for me at least, it's gonna stay there. It's not gonna try to fight you and revert back to center. Okay, so I just finished work and I ran back home to grab the drone and my board, because the sunset is looking pretty nice and I want to capture it. I want to talk really quick about the bag. I kind of have mixed feelings about this, because the strap cannot be extended, so you're kind of stuck between halfway, like a sling bag and a shoulder bag, or are those two the same? But yeah, you can't really adjust the length of this. Okay, so one thing I noticed with the Atom 2 by Potensic is that it's better actually if you shoot in the HDR mode, because it has a lot more of dynamic range than the standard profile. I noticed that the standard profile is just way too contrasty, and I don't like it. But yeah, I also like the P-Log. It's a little bit more manageable, a little bit more flexible when it comes to color grading. But yeah, definitely do not use the standard profile and stick to HDR or the P-Log mode. Okay, so this is one of my favorite places to go to with my daughter. A lot of people fly their drones here. So you can see even an elderly lady. This lady has a Mavic 3 Pro, I think. Okay, so as I was saying, I think you should keep the color profile on HDR and not on the standard profile. And of course, if you have the space or if you have the capacity, always try to shoot in log because it will give you the best dynamic range out of this drone, because it does not really have that good dynamic range. I don't know why, maybe it's the sensor, but definitely stick to HDR or log, P-Log. Okay, so I just finished flying one battery on the Atom 2, and I gotta say that the Atom 2 really exceeded my expectations. Like, it was very stable even at high velocity winds. And yeah, I pretty much enjoyed this flight because there are a lot of drone flyers here. Like, there's like at least 6 people here with Mavic Pro 5s. I'm not sure what you call it, but the top of the line DJI drones right now. And they're all elderly people, and that's pretty cool. And I'm stuck with the Potensic Atom 2. But yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of the sunset. Look at that. So let's wrap up this video with something you're probably asking yourself. Should you go for the Potensic Atom 2, or should you get a more reputable brand drone, like, for example, of course, DJI? So that is a very tricky question because the Atom 2 brings so much value to what you're paying for. So I've actually written down some notes over here as to why you'd want to choose the Mini 3. I'll start with the Mini 3. And the first reason that you might want to choose the Mini 3 is because it is slightly cheaper. Believe it or not, it's slightly cheaper than the Atom 2. Because of the Atom 2's included controller, which is the PTD1, the Mini 3 comes out at $494 opposed to the Atom, which is $549. So that's like a $50 difference because of the controller. Because of the size of this, I think they offer it at a more premium price. Because if you look at it side by side, you can definitely see that this one on my left hand is a lot bigger and a little bit more robust. I wish that DJI would have a controller like this, because this one, it can be a little bit laggy sometimes. And I noticed that the boot up time on the Potensic PTD1 controller is a lot faster than the RC1 of my DJI Mini 3. So the next reason why you might want to consider the Mini 3 over the Potensic Atom 2 is that I noticed that the DJI Mini 3 has a little bit longer flight time than the Atom 2. I really noticed the difference because I've been flying the Mini 3 for a while, so I know this drone very well, that the Mini 3, it has a slightly longer flight time over the Atom 2. And the last reason why you might want to consider the DJI Mini 3 is just if you want the DJI branding. If you are one of those people who value like the brand of what you're getting, you're probably going to want to get the DJI Mini 3. But you don't always get what you pay for, because the Atom 2 over here has a lot more value. So let's talk about a few reasons why you'd want to consider the Atom 2 over the Mini 3. And the first reason is tracking. So believe it or not, the DJI Mini 3 does not have active track, whereas the Atom 2 has it. So that alone could be the deciding factor why you'd want to consider the Atom 2, because of the tracking feature. I tried the tracking feature chasing that boat. I don't know if you remember the B-roll that I showed you, but the tracking feature on the Atom 2 is pretty okay. I was trying to track a boat and I used the spotlight mode wherein I can just freely fly the drone while it is tracking it center frame. The second reason why you'd want to consider the Potensic Atom 2 over the Mini 3 is vlog capabilities. So Potensic has their own log profile, which is called P-Log, whereas for the Mini 3 by DJI, they don't have a log profile for the Mini 3. And I actually prefer using log over the standard. The standard profile on the Potensic Atom 2 is just too contrasty for me, and I find myself using the HDR mode more than the standard. But of course the log profile is better, but that requires an additional step in post-processing by putting a LUT on it. So again, this has a log profile. The DJI Mini 3 does not. So the third reason why you might want to consider the Atom 2 over the DJI Mini 3 is just dynamic range. Because the Atom 2 has 3 different picture profiles, you get a little bit more control on your dynamic range. It has standard, it has HDR mode, and it has P-Log, which is the log profile on the Potensic 2 or the Atom 2 by Potensic. But the DJI Mini 3 does not have any other profile rather than the built-in standard profile, which you can even adjust. Again, this has better dynamic range, and this does not have any other picture profile other than standard. So if you want to be able to have more flexibility in post, go for the Atom 2. It will allow you to have a little bit more flexibility in post-production to add a LUT and to have your own look baked into your final image. The fourth reason is still regarding picture quality or the ability to control your picture quality. And the Atom 2 definitely gets the point on this because the DJI Mini 3, again, has no way to adjust your saturation, your contrast, or even your picture profiles. But the Potensic Atom 2 has the ability to not only use the 3 profiles that I mentioned, but it also can reduce the sharpness and it can adjust the saturation in the camera settings on the controller. So if that's a big thing to you, like for me it is, because I really want a little bit more control over my image, definitely go for the Atom 2. It has a little bit more flexibility when it comes to adjusting the look that comes out of the drone. So the fourth reason why you might want to consider the Atom 2 over the DJI Mini 3 is definitely the controller. So the Atom 2 includes the new PTD1 controller by Potensic, whereas the Mini 3, if you don't get the stock controller, you can get the RC1, which is going to be at a bit more premium price. But the Atom 2 PTD1 controller boots up a lot faster than the RC1 of DJI. And I noticed that this one has a little bit more brightness than this one. So if you're shooting outdoors in a bright sunny day, this is going to have a little bit more edge because you don't have to squint at the screen on a sunny day. Plus, I feel like the color that is represented on the screen is pretty accurate as to what you're gonna get. What you see is what you get. Like, even if you're trying to shoot in P-Log, you can actually get what you are seeing on the screen when you apply the P-Log LUT in post-production. It's pretty accurate. And the last reason is definitely value. For only $549, you're getting a drone with decent dynamic range. You get a lot of control over your image, opposed to getting a Mini 3 where you don't get so much control over your image. You get tracking, and you get a very stable drone that can handle high velocity winds. I brought this drone to a beach the other day, and it was able to handle the winds pretty well. I was pretty mind blown because I was like thinking, this drone is definitely not gonna be able to hold the gimbal steadily, but it pretty much exceeded my expectations. I was a little bit skeptical before because DJI pretty much owns the whole drone market, but Potensic definitely has its leg inside this drone game. So if I were to give some suggestions to Potensic on their next drone, I would definitely ask them to put in a bigger sensor, like maybe a 1-inch sensor, because that will just yield a better image overall, because that will give you slightly better low light performance, better dynamic range, less maybe artificial sharpening, and definitely just throw in 4K 50 frames per second. That will just add a little bit more flexibility in post-production, so you can just speed up or slow down your footage. And lastly, I forgot to mention that the Mini 3 can actually shoot vertical. That's one of the main reasons why I chose the Mini 3 over any other drone like the Mini 4K. This one cannot do vertical. So if Potensic were to make a new drone, I wish that they would put a bigger sensor, 1-inch sensor, can shoot 4K 50 and can at least do vertical shooting, because nowadays vertical content is becoming a trend and all clients are requesting for vertical footage now. So that is it for me, guys. If you have any further questions regarding the Potensic Atom 2, leave a comment down below and I will be glad to help you guys out. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.